All right, y'all. What's up? Welcome in. GC Live. I'm Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark. We're live in the Vista, 1003 Gervais Street at BP Skinner. Y'all recognize this guy. We got Connor Shaw in the house. Connor, welcome in, man. How you doing?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you.
Excited for college football. Excited for our Gamecocks.
Yeah, it's here, man. Dude, I remember interviewing you when you were
High school days?
Yes. Yeah, you texted me and said that you were taller than we had you listed at. I remember that's I think our first interview.
My dad.
It might have been your dad. Was I texting your dad instead of you, maybe? Yeah.
I was 6'1", 215 back in those days.
Yeah. There you go. We got the GOAT, Connor Shaw, in the house. Again, welcome in. We're at BP Skinner. We got several guests that are going to be rolling in. We're going to be previewing South Carolina Old Dominion, of course, previewing the entire season as a whole as well. Connor, as a former player, man, when you go into a season, are you looking at it as a former player? Are you looking at it just as a fan at this point? Like, is it more like, let me just get excited and enjoy some ball with my family? Or is it more like breaking down, like, oh, what are they going to do scheme-wise? How do you kind of approach a season?
The only scheme breakdown I'm doing these days are 800 flag football. So,
okay.
I'm a fan. I'm excited. I've been Coach Beamer and some of the staff members invited me out to practice a couple of times during training camp. So I know those guys are ready to hit somebody else, and I'll take my son Decker to the game Saturday. But I'm just looking forward to the product that they put on the field, and we'll be there to support them no matter what.
Even though you're not doing, kind of a detailed breakdown like you were when you were playing, how do you watch the game? Like, watch the action? Like, Wes is what's the term you use?
A ball watcher. Like, if you talk to a defensive lineman, they're like,
watch the line,
watch the D-line, offense. The guys that play, most people are ball watchers.
Yeah,
that's right.
Are you watching, trying to watch the routes?
Do you flip the
secondary,
switch?
or
it's hard to flip the switch. I mean, you're in it for so long, and you're studying certain things, getting ready for a game. You can't help but to fall back in that default mode when you're watching a game, whether that be pre-snap movement on the defensive line or what they're doing on the back end in the secondary, and then post-snap, like, what did they do? Did they bring a blitz scheme as a play caller? What are you paying attention to so you can come back? Like, for example, the first series, you want to get in different personnel and formations to figure out what you want to major in the rest of the game to see how they adjust to it. So that kind of chess match is still fun to watch from my bird's eye. But, yeah, I mean, I think I'll always look at it from a quarterback perspective. So.
That's a great place to start. Lenoir Sellers making his first career start. I mean, we got a little glimpse last year, obviously, of what he's capable of. Furman, he got to play a little bit late, and then we just saw situational, like, packages and stuff.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon, I mean, it's his show at that point.
No question.
Take us in your helmet when you were going out there the first time, and what do you think will be going through Lenoir's mind? Going from, like, all right, we've got a little role for you, to now go out there and literally all eyes are on you.
Yeah. Well, I think Lenoir's is a special person, number one. I think he's going to have an opportunity to be a special player, too, and really help this football team. The new redshirt rule where you can play in 4 games last year really benefited Lenoir's to be able to have some games under his snap and have some playing time. So there's confidence that he's been on the football field before, so it's not his first time, trotting out there. But as quarterback one, it is. So he's a really poised, calm, confident young man. And they put a ton of work in the offseason. You can tell the players kind of rally around him. So, even going out to practice, it's really hard to get a good gauge of who Lenoir's is as a player because, his skill set's going to be on Saturdays when guys are going to try to tackle him. So I'm excited for him. I love what they're doing with him. And I think, it'll be on display on Saturday.
Like you mentioned, you have had a chance to watch practice, and we're obviously not going to ask you to give anything away from that standpoint, but you have some familiarity with Dow Loggins.
Yeah.
You talked about Lenoir's. The running back room has been flipped with Rocket Sanders and a couple other transfers, some talented young guys. What do you think this scheme may look like or should look like given the personnel that they have?
Well, I think it's no secret that Lenoir's can run football. So that's going to be a pretty critical part of their offense is finding ways to run football and complement Lenoir's with Rocket and some other young players in the backfield and what they can do on the perimeter and play action pass. So, they're going to have to protect him too. I know he's a big dude. He looks like a horse when he's running football, but it's a long year in the SEC. But I do think for us to have a chance, he's going to have to be a pretty critical component in our run game.
You were there as Steve Spurrier was starting to be willing to implement the QB run game a little bit, and I'm sure you got yelled at for taking off at times. Probably even
just won't do it. Just won't throw it.
Yeah. even probably after some first downs or long runs, you're probably
Good run. You make this game too hard.
still
run.
getting yelled at. What is and maybe the teaching or coaching points have shifted a little bit over the years, but I thought it was interesting. They were talking the other day that their coaching point for Lenoris of when you can like take on a guy versus just get down or get out of bounds, and it was actually if it's one guy and you think if it's one guy and you feel you can go truck him or make him miss, go. If it's multiple, then you better get down. You better get. What was the coaching point? Maybe it was a little different with Spurrier. Hey, let's get to this second or third read versus, man, I see green grass.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, for me, I think there was trust in, go get yards, but also protect yourself. And it's one thing to hear that from a coach. As a player, you just got to learn from experience. So the first time Lenoris tries to put his head down and run somebody over, and I'm sure he can a lot better than I could just from size, but he'll find out that there's going to be times where you need to get what you can and get down or get out of bounds. But look, I mean, I remember Steven Garcia running some people over and igniting the whole stadium. So there's that level too. But he'll learn from just his own, playmaking ability.
I remember that Beamer told, I think he was at the press conference Tuesday. He told a story about Lenoris coming off the field against Kentucky last year, and he basically was like, "I just got rocked by a linebacker." That's a big dude. Want to go to receiver real quick. So obviously that's one of the question marks, I guess you could say, going into this season. You played with some talented wide receivers, obviously, but some guys that had different skill sets, right?
Yeah.
Like different sizes, different skill sets. I feel like that's kind of what Carolina's got this year is they're looking for a guy to emerge. So, what do you think of this receiving core, and can it work to where maybe they don't have that alpha number one guy like a Xavier Legette, Alshon Jeffrey type? Can it be more about a committee?
Yeah, and I think it's going to have to be based on who they have, but also based on the scheme that they're going to be running. I think this is going to be a very different football team on the offensive side of the ball that we've seen, with Spencer at the helm the past couple of years, just purely bending your scheme around the skill set of your quarterback and then who else is around you. So I do think we have a lot of speed at perimeter, some guys that can separate, hopefully in man coverage. But again, I do think it comes back to how well you can run the ball and then have those layered pass patterns off of it. We got some guys that can do that. They can run.
Yeah, we got a fitting question. It may be for the other guy over there too, but tailgate talks with Garcia and DiMarco. Will Connor Shaw be making an appearance on the podcast? I don't know.
Yeah,
Have you been
been
invited yet?
Begging them to invite me to go on the podcast. No, we'll be recording here soon. And
Okay,
it'll be entertaining, I'm sure.
Okay, looking forward to that. What have you thought? What did you think of their initial? Yes, the head ball coach. What
to get the head ball coach
Yeah,
on board?
did you get to hear it? What did you?
Oh yeah, I listened to it, and actually, Coach came in last week, and we with Patrick and had a couple of beers. But good for Coach coming on board and knowing that he's going to get some questions from Steven that's going to be entertaining. But no, I think what they're doing with that podcast is a lot of fun. I think it's going to unite, bring in a lot of Gamecock fans to reminisce on some of the old times and some of the things that we can look forward to as well.
My favorite part was his reaction when Steven said, "I need to ask you one more thing." That, all right, Steven, and then you can see DiMarco in the background because he knows what's about to happen, and he has this big grin on his face. Yeah. I feel like Spurrier didn't quite give us an answer. Like I think he moved on from it.
I think he handled it well. The coolest part about all of that is just the relationship that Coach Spurrier still has with his former players.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're all most grateful for. And he's still super sharp, man. Reminiscing from his Duke days to, even Georgia Tech and our times through here and all the bowl games. It was just fun talking football.
Y'all had some of the, we talked a lot about the offense so far, but some of the defenses, that y'all had on your teams. They're looking to take a big step forward, obviously, this season on the defensive side of the ball. Any thoughts on that going into the game one on that side of the ball?
Yeah. I can speak just from watching a few practices and, knowing some of the players on the roster. I think they feel pretty good about their defensive line, and it does look like we're probably stronger there than, at least a handful of years I can remember. And then, you got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football together on the back end in the secondary. So, going to have to play good defense in this league, but I think we've got, we're capable of doing that.
You look at Saturday, Old Dominion. I don't know if you've looked at them much or read up on them much, but Is there some value in starting a year? I mean, you got to play well against these guys. I truly believe. Like people go into the stands think, "Oh, we're just going to blow them out." I don't know if that's the case, man. But it is a little different being able to ease in versus going to Charlotte. Like, hey, UNC, their game day is here. Like this feels like you're in a playoff or a bowl game or something. What do you think's the difference or the value? There's probably pros and cons to maybe easing in because we know this thing's going to ramp up quick, but easing it, especially with a young quarterback.
Yeah, that's a good point with a young quarterback. I also think maybe from a coaching perspective, it's game one. So you're going to have game one stuff that you're going to have to work through, whether that be penalties or just execution on both sides of the football. So it's a little bit easier trying to work that out on an opponent that's not, opening up with Georgia like Thompson has to do this year. But, I've been in both. I've, opened up against North Carolina at home on Thursday night, which is a pretty intense rivalry there. But they're going to have to come to play regardless and put their best foot forward.
What do you think about, SEC? I think even if Texas and Oklahoma had not come in this year, we'd be looking at the SEC going, man, that's a really hard league. Now you add those two programs in that are not only big brand names, but ranked highly. I mean, thoughts on the league going into this year?
I love it. I think it's awesome for college football. Mm-hmm. What I don't like is the traditional rivalries that we'll all miss, not playing, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. That this state and those states and those players from those states that we traditionally had on our roster, you get up for, you get excited to play those games. But I think it adds to the caliber of the SEC, and that's a good thing.
Give us your one big key for South Carolina this season, kind of to focus. If they're going to have a special year, if they're going to have a surprise year, what do you think has to happen for this team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Lenore is going to have to play well, but I think win the turnover battle, control the game, running the football, and being efficient, play good defense, be strong in the line of scrimmage, stay healthy. Start to sound like Coach Speed.
Showing your experience there, Connor.
Well, look, Lenore is going to give us some chances to make plays and create and maybe hide some of the things that we're not very good at. And he'll get confident as he plays. Just haven't played a whole lot of football. A lot of believers in him now.
We actually got a question for you on here from Travis. Shout out to him. He said, can Connor share any feedback on Matthew Fuller? Your brother was his coach. Man, I saw the little bit of practice we got to see in preseason and fall camp. That's a big kid, man. Like, he is well put together. What can you tell us either from what you've seen or feedback from your brother?
I'm glad y'all brought him up. I think he'll play this year. I think Coach Beamer has said that there's a lot of young players that are going to play this year. In this league, you better have 3 or 4 running backs that can tote the football just to add some depth. But Matthew Fuller, man, I love this kid in high school. Obviously, he played for my older brother down in Jessup, Georgia. But he is a fearless football player. Like, the best compliment you can give someone who plays this sport is just that he's a football player. Well, he's a fearless football player, and he'll learn. His vision is good, but just hitting gaps and being patient, stuff like this, and that in this league. But Matthew's going to provide some value for sure, whether that be on special teams or finding ways to run the football.
Connor, we appreciate it as always, man.
Thanks, guys.
Great to see you.
Great to see you.
You're dismissed from the chair. We'll
thank you.
We'll roll somebody else in.
I'll get you some swag from BP while you're at it. Come on,
there you go. Are we gonna get BP himself in here? Brent, you ready? You want to hop in, man? Hop into the chair.
What's going on?
What's up, man? For those who don't know, BP himself, Brent Skinner. Dude, we got some Gamecock swag behind us here. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but I know you're pumped as always for the season. What stage are we in on the ramp up to the season? There's always we'll see, and then by the time you get to game day, you start to talk yourself maybe into we're gonna win a bunch of games. Where are you at right now going into the season? Excitement level.
You go through different phases every off season, but it seems like by the time it's game week, I don't care who we're playing, we're gonna win. I'm pumped up, ready to go. You wait all summer for football, and we're finally here, and excited about a bunch of new guys this year, a bunch of new names and faces that we haven't seen before. So it's be fun to see Saturday night what we've got and going into the next week.
What are you most excited to see? Obviously, you want to see Gamecock win, but give us a few little things that you're going to have.
There's nothing like that feeling of being back in Williams-Brice and the pregame to team coming out and everything. But obviously this year, the main thing I want to see is where's our offensive line this year compared to where we were last year, and what do we have at wide receiver? A great chance for a bunch of new guys to somebody step forward and be the guy. So it'll be interesting. There's always somebody that steps up, and it's going to be exciting to see who that guy is this year.
I know you've had some guys in here from the team. I think I saw some stuff from Norris and Boogie on social media. Kai promoting the store.
Yeah.
How has it been, or how nice is it? At least with the NIL stuff now, you can directly support those guys and get to know them a little bit. And obviously, I mean, those are some of the best kids I've ever seen come through here. So what can you say about just having the opportunity to work with some of the players directly?
Yes, and, going back 18 plus years now of dealing with the football team, whether it's Blazers and stuff back in the day with Coach Spurrier. And I think I came in helping them when me and Steven Garcia came in together. So been a long time now, but that's the best part of it. And today we got Connor here, Pat DiMarco, Dylan Thompson's going to call in, Pharaoh Cooper's going to call in. All these guys that, you see, you become friends with them, and they're all such great guys. And just like the guys on the team now. So, yeah.
Tell us about some of the stuff that you got going on in the store here behind
So,
us,
yeah,
the great display.
we're known for doing custom suits and sport coats and, regular everyday casual clothes, but we've also got a great line of Gamecock items too, from Holderness and Bourne, super popular golf line out there now that's, in our opinion, is the best golf shirt out there. But we've got a great selection of polos, quarter zips, got a new hoodie that's great. So after you finish watching this, drive on down and get ready for Saturday.
We got some refreshments in the back too.
Yeah.
So
Come
get off work early, come on out. We'll be hanging around. And the guys are back there, Connor, Pat, they're hanging around. And
we're actually going to be open tomorrow night until 8 o'clock to get people coming in from out of town or whatever you got going on. Stop by here on the way to see Hootie.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we'll be here. We're 10 to 2 Saturday.
Okay.
Then we're headed to the football game. So come see us one of those times.
Yeah, and so if you're watching or listening to the podcast version later on and you hear us talking, Friday you're open till 8.
Friday till 8.
Yeah, we're doing this live on Thursday, but if you're listening later, Friday open till 8. Saturday, you said till 2.
Till 2. Yep.
And then you're tailgate.
We're focused on winning the football game.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you should be. I'm surprised you're staying open that late. I mean, 4:15. That's.
You will not see me here past.
Okay. All right. There's the
breaking news.
beauty of being the owner on that. But we got a couple minutes here. Pharoh, I think about 2:30 is going to probably join us. Maybe.
Yeah, I think 2:30, 2:45.
Okay, I got you. We can roll Pat in. DiMarco in. Brent, appreciate you having us out, man.
Thanks for you guys.
Appreciate it. Any final things that people need to know about? If you're getting married, you can take care of that too.
We did.
You did my wedding.
This guy's wedding. So everything from weddings to everybody's buying sport coats right now. So come get a new sport.
You got
coat.
the on running shoes back there, which I'm
shoes, which everybody wears.
Believer. Yeah, I'm a believer.
Yeah, absolutely. So
hey, appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
we're at 1003
Appreciate
Gervais. We're gonna be live for a good bit longer, but come hang out, come see us, and get DiMarco. You wanna come hang? You ready? DiMarco. Got Pat DiMarco rolling in. Podcast host Pat DiMarco.
I don't know. I'm more of the moderator. Just let Steve.
Just make sure we keep it. Y'all do pre-record all the not live.
I'm smarter than I look. I'm not doing anything live with Steve when it comes to on air.
That is smart, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate you being here. How I've been listening. I texted you. I said I feel like it's going really well, man. What has that experience been like for you to be on the other side of the podcast? Like, you're not getting asked, you're getting to ask the questions yourself.
I am learning that intros and transitions are really hard and awkward.
Yes.
And Steven's like, you do the awkwardness, I'll do the funniness. So I mean, there's been a lot of learning and growth in it. It's been a lot of fun though. And Steven and I, we were roommates for 3.5 years until we had the half year he got kicked off campus. So I wasn't allowed to be his roommate during that time. But I mean, we kind of didn't have a falling out, but we just kind of like weren't in touch as much when I was playing. So over the last really 5 or 6 months, we've reconnected, and man, it's been good. I mean, Steven's like, the best part of Steven is he is genuinely himself all the time. He's never going to fabricate it. So it's been really good to get back connected with him.
Patrick, tell us about Saturday. I almost said tomorrow. I wish it was tomorrow. Saturday night, Saturday evening, afternoon, Williams-Brice Stadium. What are you going to be looking for the most, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, with so much newness, so many questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of growth. I mean, last year we struggled protecting the quarterback. That was a big piece. I mean, Spencer was running for his life, or he was on his back. So I think a big piece will be experience on the offensive line, having some of those young guys have had a year under the belt, a year off season strong, bigger, stronger, faster. And then, I mean, bringing in a guy that Connor and I are real familiar with, is Sean Elliott. He's going to come in here and he's going to, Georgia State had a top 20 run game, I think, every single year when he was at Georgia State. So being in here and kind of instilling the run game and getting downhill at people and finding creative ways. They always had a running quarterback. We have a running quarterback. It's no secret now. So he's going to find creative ways to not only put Rocket in good situations, but also put Norris in good situations.
Yeah, if y'all got questions, by the way, y'all can throw them in the chat. We do have a question from Tim. Shout out to him. Got a question for Pat here. He says, as a fullback who finds himself going head-on with defensive guys, who was the hardest hitter on D in your playing days? I don't know if that means like in practice, like teammates, or an actual opponent. I imagine an opponent. Either way you want to take that. Is there anybody that just immediately came to mind?
So there's two. The first was my first hit up here at Carolina. That was in the SEC, and that was, I mean, some avid Gamecocks will probably be familiar with this name, but Cody Wells. Cody Wells was about a 5'9" linebacker, rocked up, bench 400 pounds.
I went to high school with him, actually. York High School.
Did he hit you?
No. But
okay, you're lucky.
Yeah.
It hurt when he hit you. But we ran lead week, and it was my first play of inside as a freshman. He was a junior or senior, and, I mean, we hit each other, and it was like a bomb went off. We both, like, flew backwards. But I remember Robert Gillespie was the running backs coach at the time. He came up, picked me up, and he's like, "You all right, Pat?" And I was like, trying to get my bearings back, and he smacked me on the butt. And he's like, "Welcome to the SEC. This is only practice one."
Wow. You said Cody
Wells.
Okay, I got my Codys mixed up. Let me erase that. I did not go to high school with Cody Wells. There's a different walk-on linebacker named Cody at Carolina. I did go to high school with, but continue.
And then in the NFL, I would say it was probably an SEC guy. It was Thomas Davis at Carolina. He was and he tore his ACL 3 years in a row. I mean, an incredible story from a comeback player of the year. And he's climbed his way up. He's on the executive committee with the NFL Players Association. He's had a really cool leadership role there. But he played Will Backer and with the Panthers when I was in Atlanta. So we played twice a year. I ended up playing for Sean McDermott in Buffalo, so I became very familiar with the defense. But he lined up at like 4 yards every time we were in an I set. And Luke Kuechly, as smart as he was, is telling him to play before we snap the ball. And I'm like, "Oh, great. Now everybody knows we're running lead weeks. And now Thomas Davis is going to run a 40-yard dash through the hole and hit me in the face." And he did that a lot. It was funny, though. Once I signed in Buffalo, we went to the union meetings with the NFLPA group. And I was in their meeting. We were the same teams. We're in the same meeting room. And I remember Thomas Davis came up to me, and he, like, started clapping. He's like, "Thank God that DiMarco's out of our division." And I was like, "Well, you wouldn't turn it down. Like, you were going a million miles an hour. Yeah. I'm too stubborn to take defeat that easy. So I'm going to meet you where you're at, buddy." I was like, "If you would have taken it down a notch, I would have taken it down a notch too. Like, I'm not that big of an idiot." And he was like, "Well, I'm just glad we don't have to do it twice a year."
Yes. Man, speaking of, so I saw something about, as a long-suffering Panthers fan who loved Luke Kuechly, do you think he's the smartest football player you've ever seen? Probably. Somebody said that on social today.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
We would be in a base set, like not even condensed blitz, just a straight out formation. We would do, in Kyle's playbook, I would say we probably had 25 plays that we ran out of just a balanced, no motion, no shifts. Like, we just like to line up and play football sometimes too. And he was probably 65, 70% guess the play. I mean, it was like we're hearing like identical, and he's like, "Oh, they're going strong on this play." I'm like, "What?" I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, "Same stance, eyes are the same, going through the same routine." I'm like, "Which one of you offensive linemen is tipping this thing off?" Like, this guy has to be seeing something that we don't see. But an incredible like mindset from a player standpoint. But he was always in the right place at the right time to play with such a high motor. So you mix the brains with the motor and the want to. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he's wearing a gold jacket here sometime soon. Definitely should.
Yeah, God, he was fun to watch.
He was good,
man.
yeah.
He was. Did you ever figure out what like? Did you go back and be like, this little? He must have just had an innate kind of, or he had studied it up that much.
He studied like all the time. When I got to Buffalo and I started talking with Coach McDermott, was explaining to me Luke's routine. Because I mean, obviously he was the defensive coordinator and Luke was his baby.
That's his guy.
But Luke would eat dinner. So usually, like we were done at like 5 or 6 o'clock most days in the NFL. Luke would order food for delivery to be delivered to the facility, so we could stay up there till like 9 or 10 o'clock and watch, like tape with the coaches, do the install with the coaches. Like he was essentially a coach on the field. So like, that's big tribute to probably why he was the player he was.
Yeah.
So let's get it to the game Saturday a little bit in this season, and we asked Connor earlier, what's your maybe biggest key to this team being able to take that step forward and being able to have the season they want, and then I think we may have Pharoh hopping in here in a second. But yeah, Pat, where's your head at as far as the single biggest key for the Gamecocks to feel good about where they are this year?
I think the big thing, I think one of our strengths this year is going to be the run game. And I think when you can line up and run the ball and not have to try to trick people and jet sweeps and all the stuff that everybody does now, I think when you have the mindset and the willingness and the determination to run the ball and run successfully on a standardized basis, I think that is going to be a big piece, especially with having Lenore's. I mean, I've said it a million times. Like you start slicing tight ends, and with your quarterback run game, there's 2 extra gaps on every single hole. So safety's having to come down from 10, 12, 15 yards deep to tackle a 250-pound quarterback. I like that matchup. And I heard the question you were talking about with Connor of like, see one, take them on, see multiple, get down or get out of bounds. That was a big thing that that Bobby Turner, who is my running backs coach, said to Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. He said there's only one person that can make them all miss. And he wore number 20, and he played for the Detroit Lions. Barry Sanders can make everybody miss. The rest of you guys that try to make everybody miss on every play, you're going to kill yourself and you're going to get hurt. So make one miss. If there's more than one, get your butt down and get out of bounds. Don't take a big hit.
Pat, we appreciate it. As always, man, great to see you. Man, tell them real quick, where can they listen to the podcast?
You can listen to the podcast
everywhere.
On Apple, Spotify, and then the video portion is on Gamecocks Plus. Yep. But in the meantime, guys, BP Skinner is a big friend of the program, big friend of Connor and I. Come in here and check out their stuff. He's been supplying us with our stuff since, I guess, 2007 when I got on campus. So he's got great stuff in store. I'm definitely going to walk out of here with the bag, so come check him out, guys.
He is Pat DiMarco. Pat, we'll let you get out of here, man. Hang out. Come on by. Again, we're at 1003 Gervais Street at the Vista, or in the Vista. And let's try to bring in Pharoh. Pharoh, you still there, man? I saw your video popping up. Come on back with us. Try to get Pharoh in here in a second. I saw him down there. Let's see if we can get Pharoh in there. I think he's sitting in his car.
Yep.
There. Hey, Pharoh, can you hear us, man?
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? All right, dude. So, hey, you're live on GC Live. There you are. Pharaoh Cooper, soon to be South Carolina Hall of Famer. Pharaoh Cooper. Congrats on that, man. It is great to see you. Great to hear from you. What does it mean when you kind of, I don't know how they told you how you got that phone call or how they reached out, but what did it mean to find out that, hey, you're going to be honored to be in the South Carolina Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it was a blessing. Ray Tanner had called me maybe probably a month ago or so, and called me and let me know on the news that I was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. And I was kind of, shocked and wasn't really expecting that call. So it was definitely cool to hear. I'm forever grateful for that, and it's definitely a blessing for sure.
Pharaoh, Chris here. This is really cool, man, because now, that honor that Wes just mentioned, your long NFL career that you had. We remember covering you at out of Havelock, Shrine Bowl, class of 2013. It's fun to look back on that. But what do you have to say maybe to the folks at South Carolina who may be listening to this, who remember you play, who, cheered for you in the stands at Williams-Brice and what they mean to you?
Gamecock Nation, man, that's my second home. That's like family to me at this point. I'm a North Carolina boy, but anytime I'm back in, Columbia, South Carolina, it always feels like home to me. So, like I'm in North Carolina, but, I call Carolina, I say Carolina out here, I'm talking about South Carolina. So yeah, I just, and honestly, I couldn't thank everybody, individually, but, I always, appreciate all the, the fan base, and all the, love and support I've received, throughout my, time there, at Carolina. The fans show nothing but love to me my whole time there. So, thank you for that for sure.
Pharaoh, can you take us back in time a little bit, man, to your playing days? I remember when you were recruited, and I think you were listed kind of like an athlete, and I know you kind of did everything in Havelock. I think you were playing quarterback, and at one point, I believe you were actually brought in like, hey, this guy's going to play DB, and I think Spurrier took one look at you on the practice field and said, nah, we're going to throw this guy the football. Do you remember kind of, I guess, take us through how that played out in terms of you being recruited and it looked like you were going to play one spot? How did it go from that to Spurrier being like, no, we really want you as an offensive playmaker?
Yeah, it started back probably the beginning of maybe the end of my sophomore year. Coach Brad Lawn, rest in peace to Coach Brad Lawn. He came down there to Havelock, North Carolina, and he was my recruiting coordinator, and he was on the defense side of the ball. And I was recruited as a dual athlete, receiver and defensive back, and so a lot of my time talking to the recruiters there, where I was talking to Coach Grady Brown and Coach Lorenzo Ward. And, a lot of time lead up to campus, I was always talking to them. Coach Spurrier came down one time to my high school, and he wanted me on the offense side of the ball. And he always told me that. And back then, I wanted to go to the SEC to play defense and kind of do that, Stephon Gilmore role and, do the defensive back and the little Wildcat stuff. And then so fast forward to, my freshman year, it wasn't looking like I was going to get a lot of playing time at, on the defense side of the field. And Coach Barry was like, hey, go ask, those coaches if they think they're going to redshirt you this year. And they was like, yeah, we probably will. This is probably maybe a couple weeks before the regular season game. And I was in the offensive, receiver room right after that team meeting, installing Wildcat packages. So that's kind of how that played out. Coach Barry just, he said if you wasn't going to play your freshman year on defense, I'm going to play you on offense, and then, kind of ran it with it from there.
Pharaoh, have you I know a lot of different things going on. Some guys are able to keep up with it more than others, but how much have you kept up with the program, while you've been playing in the league? How much have you kept up with it this offseason? Do you have any thoughts on this coming season for Coach Beamer and for the team this season?
As a former player, I've always kept up with the guys. I know I haven't actually been to a game in maybe, I can't even remember, probably 3 or 4 years, honestly. Just, because I was playing and whatnot. But I've always, kept up with Carolina and try to watch their games on Saturdays when I wasn't, traveling or when I wasn't playing or doing anything else that I needed to do while I was playing. So, and, honestly, I hope, we can win some games this year. And honestly, I'm not too familiar with, who's on the team as far as that, but, I still see a lot of the stuff on, social media, like, Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, and, kind of what the guys are doing behind the scenes. But, I get excited for it every year, and, hopefully, Coach Beamer and those boys can, win some games.
Yeah, Pharoh, as you know, man, we're live from BP Skinner right now on the Vista 1003 Gervais. And I know you've known Brent, and you've known the BP Skinner brand here for quite a while. So what can you tell the Gamecock fans out there about your experience here and why they should come shop with us here?
Brent got that stuff over there, man. Brent been dressing me since 2016, my rookie year in LA. I remember Coach Jeff Fisher at the time was, my head coach, and he had the policy, hey, we're not dressing in street clothes, we're wearing suit and tie. So I called Brent up, and Brent flew out to LA, got me 10 suits, 10 slacks, and everything. I still got him to this day. I don't think I could fit him anymore. I was a lot slimmer then. But Brent's always, taking care of me when I've needed something, always, fast on time. And, he always has some, nice new stuff every year. So, anytime I'm in town, I'll go by Brent's side and, come holler at him and see what he got.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And so, Pharoh, let's go a little bit real quick back to your time at South Carolina as well. You had the pleasure of playing receiver in a skill position under Steve Spurrier. A lot of people think one of the best offensive minds at of all time, and he used your skills well. I thought, man, just moving you around, being creative, doing different things to get you the football. I know it wasn't the finish anybody wanted, but I'll never forget that Tennessee game at Williams-Brice where I think you set the receiving record and you were just doing everything, man. And what do you most remember about what it was like kind of going into a game week knowing Steve Spurrier was the one designing ways to get you the football?
I mean, for me, it was amazing. At that time, 2013 to 15, as Gamecock Nation knows, I was kind of really the only, guy we had on that team that would, had experience. I know we had Debo, but I know early in his college career he was hurt, so we were never really on the field together. So for me, practice was a little, I wouldn't say tough because, they kind of took care of me in practice wise, but, it was a lot of things I had to, learn and adjust to and figure out how to, put everything together while learning wildcat plays, receiver plays, the punt return and kick return. But, when Spur was in the offensive meeting game day, everybody knew where the ball was going on third down, really first, second, and third down. They knew where the ball was going. So for me, it was, it was fun. At that point I was trying to get to the NFL. So, I wanted the ball. I wanted to score. I wanted to win. So, it was pretty fun the way he drawed up plays and how he used, maybe decoys and other stuff to get me the ball and try and make some plays out there. So it was fun.
Pharoh, since you mentioned Debo Samuel, you did have the 1 year of carryover with him. He ended up becoming a superstar like you at South Carolina, and obviously has had an amazing career so far in the NFL too. Even though he was banged up that year y'all had together, did you see that coming based on what you saw like in practice? Did you think, hey, this guy's going to be really, really good?
Yeah, I remember certain plays that guys make. It doesn't take much to see if somebody's, if somebody has it or not. It really doesn't. It could probably maybe take 1 to 2 practices to see, or maybe 1 or 2 plays where you're like, dang. And, I guess it was my sophomore year, his freshman year. I think it was a practice and maybe a scrimmage, and he had made one play in the back of the end zone where he had caught it and dragged his feet. And he looked effortlessly. It looked real smooth, and I was like, that. I think I was on the sideline. I think I might have had a rest day or something, and he was, getting a lot of the attention that day. So he made that play, and I remember watching it vividly. I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna be pretty good. And then he went to the NFL, and he's having a great career. So yeah, I do remember him being pretty good when I first met him.
Pharoh, we got a question here from a Gamecock fan, a really good question, I feel like, and it's related to South Carolina this year, too. Have you seen a shift it seems like there are kind of smaller, shiftier wide receivers in the league. Like, you don't necessarily have to be – I know there's still some 6'4", 6'5" guys, but it doesn't seem like you have to be that in order to excel in college or even in the NFL. So as kind of that shiftier receiver yourself, does it make you just more versatile to be that size and sort of that skill set? How do you feel like being your like movement skills, I believe they're trying to ask, how much do you think that kind of helped you at making people miss and stuff like that versus if you were like 6'4", 6'5" and kind of longer like some of these other guys?
honestly, I think you definitely have an advantage when you're a lot small. Now I ain't gonna say small like 5'6", 5'7". Tyreek Hill, he's an exception because he's like, real fast. But if you're in that, maybe 5'9" to 5'10", 6'1" range where you can get in and out of your breaks and you're real fluid, it helps a lot. And and being able to be that size, you usually have more experience with maybe catching punts. And making somebody miss, being back there on kick return and doing stuff like that, so it definitely adds value. Now you got some of those big guys like, Mike Evans, and I can't even really think of the big guys, but, he's the only one I can really think of. But, the league is starting to shift towards more, smaller, quicker receivers. And that's because these D linemen and DNs, they're running 4.3, 4.4s these days. So, part of that is, the quarterback got to get the ball out of their hands, quicker. So, you try and get those, faster agility guys, maybe in the slot, run some choice routes and kind of game plan that way. So, I think it's definitely the league is leaning towards that, especially as these guys are 6'3", 6'4", running 4.3s. It's, a lot. Some of these guys are faster than receivers, honestly. So, it all goes hand in hand in how you want to, scheme it up. So, yeah, being probably a smaller receiver helps.
Yeah, Pharoh, before we let you get out of here, man, final thing, do you have just a favorite memory on or off the field from your time at South Carolina?
Favorite memory? Probably on the field, man. Probably that Tennessee game. If one that kind of just sticks with me. I know we lost at the end of the day, but being able to break that single season or single game record in one game, and it being a night game, and it being against an opponent like Tennessee in the SEC in our division, that kind of sticks out to me. I remember the most. And then, I mean, outside of the football in Columbia, kind of just, man, the love I would get, from maybe whatever it was, the students, fans when I was out and about. It was pretty cool, just to be embraced, by Columbia, South Carolina, by all the students, walking through 5 Points and walking on campus. It was a pretty good time when I was there.
Pharoh, we can't thank you enough for making the time, man. Appreciate you hopping on. Great to hear from you. Great to see you. Congrats again on the Hall of Fame. And hopefully we'll see you up here in Columbia soon. Okay, man?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Pharaoh Cooper right there joining us here on GC Live. Man, that guy was fun to watch back in the day.
Hey, right?
Pharoh was.
He could do like I was looking up while we were talking to him. I was just kind of going back, looking over some of his game logs, and he just 513 rushing yards, 118 passing yards, over 2,100 receiving yards, and also logged return and punt return yards. So like he did it all.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten he's out there throwing passes in games sometimes, but he did that too. I mean, just literally did it all. And, I remember covering him out of Havelock High, and you're like, man, you remember he started out as like a 2-star player, East Carolina, South Carolina, became a 4-star Sean Bowl recruit, and you could see it then. To go back to his point about you can kind of tell when a guy's going to be special, I thought we saw it pretty early in high school, and, man, it ended up playing out that way.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So I'll tell you what, I think we have, guys, an interview here. This is from earlier today on 107.5. I think we have an interview, if I can get the technology to work right. We'll see. From Aaron Zielinski from the Monarchists. And so I think we're going to have some other guests later on. We got Dylan Thompson is going to join us later on. This will serve to give us a little break of the action here. But we're going to play this interview to give you an idea of the Old Dominion side of this game, sort of some insight on them. So this, I was on there, Chris was on there, Jack Veltri with us at Gamecock Central, and Tyler Head, the host over there at Gamecock Central Takeover Hour 107.5. We've got an interview with him, so we're going to go ahead and play that in this section right now, and then after it's over, we'll be back here live again at BP Skinner, 1003 Gervais Street. If you're out there, if you're in town, if you're near downtown, if you're coming in maybe for the Hootie concert, come by and see us. We'll be here a little bit longer. So hang tight. Again, here's Aaron Zielinski from the Monarchists previewing ODU.
Insight into the Old Dominion Monarchs. We have Aaron Zielinski from the Monarchists joining us now on the Lev Chevrolet phone lines. First of all, Aaron, appreciate your time this morning. I know it's a big matchup for you guys coming up this weekend, just like it is for South Carolina. Obviously, the goal is to win for both teams, but when you turn in terms of overall objectives, what is Old Dominion looking to accomplish this Saturday in Williams-Brice Stadium?
Well, fellas, thanks for having us on today. I think overall objectives, the first thing is, like you were just mentioning, 57 new players. So coming into an SEC stadium, and it's going to be crazy atmosphere. Your fans are awesome. So I think the first objective is just kind of coming into that beginning of the game and getting your feet underneath and not letting the game get away from them early.
Yeah, I think when you look at this ODU team, I do think it is fascinating. As many new players as they have, I think they're one of the few teams in the Sun Belt that returns both their head coach and quarterback Grant Wilson. So when you're getting into a second year in an offense and kind of having that, hey, it's not all new, you're not doing install, like there are guys in this system and this scheme that now understand things and have been in it for a year. What advantages do you think having the coach, the OC, the quarterback, those guys that are sort of front and center within your offense back together for a second year?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be huge. That's big for any team, but for Old Dominion it's particularly important. If you look at Old Dominion, we have not had the same quarterback in back-to-back seasons since 2014. So this is having Grant back is big. Obviously, the continuity of the offensive side of the ball with Coach Decker at the leading the offense, that's big. Our head coach, Ricky Ronnie, talks a lot about the second year being the biggest year of improvement in this offense. So I don't think enough can be stated about having both Ricky, Coach Deck, and then Grant leading the way going into this second year.
Defensively, Old Dominion uses a scheme that, from what I have seen, is kind of a three-man front, like a 3-3-5, kind of a hybrid defense. And Dowell Loggins, South Carolina's offensive coordinator, yesterday mentioned that can cause some issues in the run game. Tell us a little bit more about the defensive scheme and some of the key players and how that might look this season. From what I saw, they walk a safety up to the box, put him on the edge, play him in the back. Like it looks pretty multiple with what they do with their defense.
Yeah, when you've got three up front, you've got to get creative in bringing pressure from different areas, make it unpredictable, because if you're just playing three up front against five, you're going to lose that all the time. So I would expect to see that. The defense has been, under Coach Seiler, it's been a strong suit of Old Dominion. Jason Henderson, obviously, that's a guy that people want to keep an eye out for, number 42. He is the quarterback of the defense. He's Mr. All-American, Mr. ODU's been here, has not transferred anywhere. He is coming off of an injury, so it's his first game back. But the defense is just trying to, got to mix it up and be unpredictable. It's kind of a bend but don't break kind of defense. But they have been the kind of the strongest part of Old Dominion in the last few seasons with kind of the program of where it's been.
Wanted to ask you a little bit more about this offense. Obviously, last year it seemed like offensive line blocking up front was a bit of a struggle. 62 sacks. Grant Wilson, the quarterback you mentioned earlier, got sacked 52 times last year. People around South Carolina talk about how much the offensive line with the Gamecocks was an issue, but it seems like ODU really had some more problems up front. How is the offensive line looking from what you've seen heading into the season, and what could be different with those guys up front?
Sure, that's a great question. Obviously, last year, offensive line play was a challenge. All those sacks are not on the offensive line. As the coach says, not all sacks are created equal. But this year, the offensive line will look a little different. They're much bigger. They have been playing well together, and they're deeper than they have been in a long time. So you guys are used to playing in the SEC and playing Tennessee, so you've seen a similar type scheme. This team is going to want to run the ball, and they're good at running the ball. Last year, that was something that Old Dominion did very well. Consistent in running the ball, in some games being very explosive running the ball. So I'm interested in watching the offensive line play. That's going to be interesting to see in that kind of first quarter there and how they settle in.
Again, talking to Aaron Zielinski from the Monarchists, getting insight into ODU ahead of Saturday's game against South Carolina. I want to talk about the receiver spot for a minute here because it looks like you have a lot of speed there. You added Deontay Vines from Iowa in the offseason, and, of course, when you're playing in Iowa's offense, you'll get the opportunity to showcase a lot at the wide receiver spot, but also somebody that's maybe kind of a secret weapon that people here locally may be familiar with, that being Dominic Dutton, a former South Carolina track star who didn't get a lot of receptions last year, made the most of them with 4 touchdowns on those 9 catches, most of those being deep balls.
Yeah, you said it. So this group is not a tall group, but they are an extremely fast group. So it'll be interesting to see how Coach Deck and Coach Ronnie use them in this game. We lost some production to the portal, but obviously Deontay Vines, number 0, has come in. But we bring a lot back too. Isaiah Page, number 1. Isaiah is not a big guy. He's 5'8", 161. But he's a very crafty, fast, twitchy kind of guy. He's been around for a while. He's a senior, so he really knows the game well. Kelby Williams, number 6, he's a junior. He's our biggest wide receiver that you're going to see out there, 6'2", 185. But, like you said, Dominic Dutton. So Dom is – I don't know who the fastest guy is of these are. They're all very fast. But like you said, when Dom got the ball last year, he usually was scoring, and they were usually very long.
Aaron, when you kind of look at what we were talking about earlier, 57 new players, how has ODU kind of approached the portal just from a standpoint of trying to replace guys that you maybe lost and in terms of trying to keep guys? Like, I know at that level, if you can manage the portal, that can give you a leg up. But I know you have Power 4 schools coming in trying to steal your best players probably every year at this point. So how well do you think they have managed the portal, and what maybe has just been their approach? I know it's a little bit of an open-ended question.
No, that's a challenge for every Group of 5 school, especially ones that have talented rosters. The Sun Belt is getting poached routinely. Players, especially with NIL. We lost players to Indiana, to SMU, to Memphis, all over the place. But Coach Ronnie's done a good job bringing folks in. So, for example, we lost 2 of our running backs, our top 2 running backs by production-wise last year. But we bring in 2 new running backs. We bring in Aaron Young out of Rutgers. The interesting thing about Aaron is his brother Jordan was our all-time leading tackler until Jason Henderson broke that record, he's here. So we've got a little family legacy. And Bryce Duke coming from Virginia Tech. So both really good additions to the team. You mentioned Deontay Vines earlier coming from Iowa. He's going to have much more opportunity in this offense than he ever would have at Iowa. So we look for big things there. Bringing a quarterback in, obviously Grant is starting, but we've made that room a little bit deeper, and then on the defensive side of the ball. So the staff has done a very good job in the portal, despite losing 57, or having 57 new people as a team. That's kind of the new normal at our level, because you got the players that aren't getting time that maybe go to an FCS school, and then you've got the ones that have done really well, and the Power 4 schools come a calling. So we're used to it at this point.
You brought up Jason Henderson earlier, Old Dominion's leading tackler from the last 2 years. What stands out about him? How would you describe his game for those who may not have watched him? Because he seems to just be all over the field making plays after plays.
I would say if you're a Gamecocks fan, just keep your eye on number 42. He is a really fun player to watch. Jason, he's a student of the game. He's a hardworking guy. He's a great guy, and he's an extremely, extremely good football player. He never quits on the field. He's got an extremely high motor, and he's going to be in on just about any tackle. I mean, he had multiple games last year where teams would put 2 or 3 guys on him and might shut him down for early in the game, but then he figures it out, and next thing you know, he's got 14, 15, 16 tackles. So he will be sideline to sideline all over the place, in on every play.
Aaron, Coach Ronnie actually addressed this the other day, and this has kind of gotten a lot of buzz this offseason, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the quote-unquote controversy surrounding some of Jason Henderson's tackling numbers.
Sure. Yeah, we saw that tweet. Our group, the Monarchists, we saw that, and we had a little fun with those guys. Frankly, I think it's a bit stupid. If people actually watch the film and watch him play, you'll completely understand that. I think people like to get clicks on social media. One thing that's made our group, the Monarchists, so successful where we're at is that we're not negative on social media. We're honest and authentic, but you can do things in the right way. And some of these guys are just out there to get clicks and to do what they do. So, Jason doesn't care about that stuff. Of course, Ricky's going to stand up for his player, but yeah, it's over. His play will speak for itself.
Aaron, final thing here, man. I guess what are your expectations for this game itself, just in terms of maybe how it's going to flow, what the important factors will be, and do you have a final score prediction?
Sure. I'm the wrong guy in the group to ask for final score prediction. I'll give you what mine is. It's kind of has been. We've had a good time on Twitter last night with some of your fans found our podcast. I think the most important thing, like we talked about early, is to weather the storm early. That crowd is going to be crazy. We know you got to sell out there. Fortunately, Grant has been. Last year he had Virginia Tech on the road at night, so he's at least been in an environment. It's not the same, but he's been in a hostile type of environment. You guys have question marks. We have question marks. I think the biggest thing is going to be is if we can make and when we can make your quarterback make a mistake, we absolutely have to capitalize on it. If there's an opportunity to intercept the ball, we have to do it. We can't let any of those things happen because, your team is too good, it's too deep, it's too talented to not capitalize on every single thing. If we can run the ball and we can keep drives going and limit like 3 and outs, we had a lot of those last year, lots of quick drives, which put our defense on the field a long time, and they were just gassed at the end. We have to avoid that sort of stuff and hopefully be in it. And, the beginning of the fourth quarter, be within striking distance. So I always jokingly pick Old Dominion to win by 3 on a 50-yard field goal by Ethan Sanchez. The kid can kick. I'm going to hit it eventually. It hasn't hit yet, but I'll be right eventually. But my other two buds on the podcast, I think, they're looking for I think they called for South Carolina to win this game, but not to cover. Hopefully.
As we're going to cut it a little bit short and go ahead and bring in our guy Dylan Thompson. I see him. I think he's fresh off the practice field down there. Let's try to bring Dylan in. There he is. Dylan Thompson joining us live. We are, of course, like I've been telling y'all, we're live from BP Skinner in the Vista, 1003 Gervais. Dylan, great to see you, man. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Great to see you guys again. I'm doing great. Thanks for being patient. But really, really good to see you guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. So I guess, first of all, you want to tell the fans that are listening, watching, what you've been up to. Obviously, like I said, you're fresh off the field over there. So give us a little update on what you've been up to, man.
Yeah, my family and I, we just relocated to Northern Virginia, accepted a job with the Washington Commanders. Role here is Senior Director of Team Support and Advancement, really just trying to help the guys here in any way that I can. We're really thankful to be here. We love it so far. And, yeah, just got out of practice. I'm getting ready. We play Tampa week 1, a week from Sunday. So really excited about that.
Dylan, Chris here. Good to see you again, man. Appreciate you taking time to do this. So big storyline here in Columbia in game one is Lenore Sellers, new quarterback for South Carolina, redshirt freshman. Played a little bit last year, but still redshirted going into his first start. So you as a former Gamecock quarterback who's in that position, what do you remember about not just your first game action, but your first start and, some of those feelings and emotions that Lenore's may be going through as well?
Yeah, I think it's all new, right? And any time, no matter what your job is, there's a different level of pressure that comes with new leadership, new communication, new responsibility. I think all that you feel in the moment, and I'm sure he's feeling the same thing. But I do think it's cool that he's an in-state guy getting to represent the University of South Carolina, and it's something that I don't know him personally, but just watching him and how he carries himself, that he takes that seriously. And so I think that's something that is cool to see from afar. He seems like he was raised right, and the way that he operates, I respect a lot.
Dylan, I don't know how much with your current job that you get to actually watch South Carolina or pay attention or read what's going on or how much you followed it. But it just, even from a general standpoint, what are your thoughts on the season coming up? What's your excitement level to see what happens on Saturday?
Yeah, it seems that culturally they're really growing. Like you said, I'm not able to probably keep up as much as I'd like, but still have a ton of friends, obviously, in the area and keep up as much as I can. I think the main thing is culturally they're trying to do the right thing and do it with the right people. And I think in today's model of college athletics specifically, if you can get like-minded people in a room and go to work together, you give yourself a chance. And it seems like that's what they're building there. And I'm excited just for game one, obviously, but for the year and what Coach Beamer's building and who he is as a person. Really excited for them.
Dylan, let's wind the clock back just a little bit. We actually just talked to Pharaoh Cooper a few minutes ago, and we were all, earlier with him and just me and Wes sitting here earlier. We were kind of reminiscing on some of the older South Carolina teams. And, what were some of your favorite memories from you? Obviously, were part of a lot of big moments in Columbia as the quarterback and part of some of those teams there. What are some of your takeaways and memories that you have from your time here?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that jumps to mind are the people. And I don't want that to sound cliche. The people that you got to go to work with every day and do life with every day. You could name a ton. You could go just the quarterback room, right? Whether that be Connor, Seth, Clifford, Steven, Turk, Perry. I mean, you got so many guys in those rooms. Michael Scarnecchia. I mean, you can name a ton of guys there that you get to go to work with every day. But then you go to the rest of the team and the way we worked in the summers. And it reminds me really, it's a thought of like you're often rewarded in public for what you practice in private. And those were those teams. Like we had incredible work ethic collectively, and it showed up in big moments. And so you remember the games, right? The Clemson games, Georgia's, the bowl games, all those things. But I think that it was just a team that was rewarded publicly for what we practiced privately. And that was the fun in all of it, was the people that we got to do it with.
Dylan, as you know, man, we're live from BP Skinner. Brent's right over here. So you want to tell the fans out there about your experience shopping here and your relationship with Brent?
Yeah. If I'm not wearing what I have on right now, there's a high chance it's something from BP Skinner. Brent knows this. I just trust him completely with anything I wear that has to be, quote, nice. He's the best. He's a great person. I think that's the most important thing for me, is that he's been great to work with, really from school to every year since I've been out of school and away from Columbia. I've worked with Brent, trust him dearly. He's a friend. Really, I love his store, but nothing to do with his store. He's a great friend and a great person that I lean on a lot. And so just thankful for him and really appreciate him. And I'm honestly jealous that you guys are there right now. I need to figure out a way to get down there.
Dylan, got a question actually from one of our listeners, our viewers, Tim Carpenter on Facebook. So he mentioned that you actually backed up Connor Shaw for a while here in college. Lenore Sellers, obviously going into his first start, was able to back up Spencer Rattler and kind of learn from him. So the question from Tim is, how much did that help you? How much do you think it'll help Lenore's to, learn from somebody, be in the same room, work alongside somebody who's really good with experience?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, great question. I think that anytime you get to watch someone else's process, how they study, how they see the defense, how they accept coaching, how they learn. It's a great opportunity. For me personally, Connor was great because he was raised around ball. And so he had been taught it his whole life, whereas I had a different background and more kind of a basketball background. I learned so much from him really the first few months there. And then Coach Mangus and Turk and all those guys in the room taught me so much. I think that's maybe an underrated thing about, the quarterback room, is that all the voices in the room make such an impact. And so I'm sure for Lenoris, yes, last year was good, but I'm sure there are guys there now that he's leaned on every single day to help him prepare. And I know he's coached well and has a lot of guys around him that he can lean on.
Dylan, do you ever pinch yourself, man, or kind of is it completely sunk in that you learned from Steve Spurrier every day and had just the experience of the highs, the lows, everything in between, just maybe not knowing what you were going to hear in the meeting room from day to day? Like, what was that like to just wake up and be a quarterback of all things for the head ball coach?
Yeah, eternally grateful for that. And Coach was so good to me personally, my family. Yes, he has the one-liners, and you can tell stories all day about him. But I think anyone that spent any significant time around him knows that he cares deep down about who you are and how to help you get better. And all of those quarterbacks, it's like nonstop telling stories. It's like on cycle. We'll just tell them throughout the year. And then anywhere you go, that you start talking to people, within 5 minutes, they want to hear a story about Coach. But love Coach and forever thankful for him and Miss Jerry and their impact on my life and my family's life.
Dylan, like I said, man, it's great to hear from you. Great to see you. Congrats on the success, man. I know y'all got a big season coming up as well, but don't be a stranger. Come see us in Columbia sometime soon, okay, man?
Yeah, man, great to see you guys again, and I appreciate everything you guys do for the school and for the team. And tell Brent hello, give him a hug. And I think Connor and DiMarco, those guys might have been around at some point. So tell those guys hey, but really.
We got somebody yelling at you here.
There he is.
Hey, make sure you drop
There
the
he
ball.
is.
Drop your ball plays.
Put your ball plays in your back pocket for the weekend. That's what we'll do. Great to see y'all, man. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, Dylan. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan Thompson, of course, former South Carolina quarterback. Man, you got to follow some legends, Chris Pascal. You're here to bring the comedy to the hour for us. No pressure.
I feel like that's more pressure than being the quarterback.
It probably is, man. All right, Chris here from Goins Law Firm. He actually writes a column on Gamecock Central as well. He's going to give us the fan perspective. We've been talking about getting you on the podcast for a long time, man. You're
Brett Skinner.
He makes
you
everything
finally
happen.
get me on the podcast.
Like.
You're just always so busy, I feel like. Real quick, though, what's the excitement level? Give us some fan perspective. What's the excitement level for Saturday?
I mean, always excited, no matter the season, for the first game. I was talking to one of my buddies. This is my favorite weekend of the year. With the season coming back, and obviously with Hooting the Blowfish in town for tonight and tomorrow night, it's going to be a fun weekend and very fired up for it. And I love the fact, Eli Drinkwitz is asking for his fans to show up for a top 15 program, and we have Williams-Brice sold out, and there's a lot of excitement, I'm sure.
What are you most excited to see on Saturday afternoon?
Obviously, you don't know until the first game or the first couple games, really, how the lines of scrimmage are going to look like. But that's been such a topic on Gamecock Central for months now.
Yeah.
And in the fan base is just what are the lines of scrimmage going to look like? Obviously, we think the defensive line is going to look much improved and potentially play at a very high level with their depth and their talent. Obviously, with the offensive line, good additions through the transfer portal and the freshman Josiah Thompson. But you don't know until they actually get on the field and you're playing an opponent how good they're going to be. So that's what I'm most excited to see is what the lines of scrimmage are going to look like.
So Dylan mentioned, not only does Lenoris take over as the quarterback, but he is a homegrown kid. He's from the state of South Carolina. So many people I know that are huge Gamecock fans have talked about what that might mean, like how special that would be to have a kid possibly take over. And I think Spencer ingrained himself in this place, still has a place here, all those things. But to have like a non-transfer, an in-state guy potentially just come in and be the guy, I feel like would be pretty special.
Absolutely. I think there's something to be said for how well connected, how social, how close knit the state of South Carolina is. And when one of South Carolina's own, a South Carolinian, is playing well and taking the reins as the quarterback or as a big time contributor, it means so much. That's something I love about working at Goings Law Firm and work for Robert Goins is that the NIL deals we have with South Carolinians, guys that stayed home and played for the in-state school and didn't transfer when they could have. And I think that's something that I really appreciate, and I know a lot of fans appreciate.
Before we let you get out of here, I know you're an avid BP Skinner shopper as well. They got some Gamecock swag back here, man.
Yeah, they got a ton of Gamecock swag. I'd probably have my house paid off if I wasn't going to BP Skinner all the time. I love coming here. Brent does a great job, and the clothes. I mean, not just the Gamecock gear, but if you need a suit, you need a tuxedo. If you need shoes, belt. I actually ordered my barber jacket through Brent. He had I guess a special connection that I didn't have, but everything I get clothing wise comes through BB Skinner. He does a great job. The store always is great shape, smells great. It's just everything you need about it. It's here for you.
And we have a studio in the store now.
That's right. I mean, the studio, I feel like this is going to be a permanent staple for Gamecock Central.
It does seem that way.
Brent doesn't know that, but we're just going to do the show here every day now. We're just going to show up. So.
Weekly from a former quarterback.
Okay. We can make that happen. All right, you're cut. You're cut.
Appreciate you guys out.
Chris, appreciate it. As always.
Thanks, man.
Dude, we got to give some final predictions on the game. I know we haven't
haven't
done that yet. Do you know what we put them out on Gamecock Central on Friday.
Yeah.
Have you formulated your and I say this with love, have you formulated your wrong pick? Yeah, because I know mine's going to be the score. I think we'll both go the same direction and probably right on the winner. Right. But the score number,
yes,
so hard to predict, especially early in the season.
Of course.
But
yeah, I mean, I think I'm there. We'll have staff picks actually for this game with a little context, plus some other games that'll be coming out on Gamecock Central. I think Jack Veltri is putting that together. Yeah, so the funny thing is, Wes, I'm not 100% sure if what I'm going to say here is going to match what we're putting in the article. I think it'll be close, you know, with what we put. But anyway, am I going first? Am I on the hot seat?
You're on the hot seat.
Yeah. So I'm going 41-13 Carolina. Yeah, so I am. That is covering plus a little bit of wiggle room there.
Somebody Williams said 45-0.
Oh my. Yeah, I can't get there.
Dude, I think it's tighter.
Okay. I'm with you. I mean, I very much thought.
I think it's a little. Now, it caught my attention earlier. They got 56 new players.
That's one reason when I learned that I kind of expand.
Dude, I thought I was hearing wrong or they were wrong. But I listened to a podcast earlier with, I believe it was their play-by-play guy. And they said, look, the portal just hammers some of these group of 5 schools.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've brought guys in. They do have their quarterback back, which I think is helpful. Beamer said this is the biggest crowd that ODU will ever play in front of.
Yeah.
So I do think that matters. I do think it's tighter than anybody wants to think early on, just because you do have a new quarterback through South Carolina. You're breaking a lot of new guys in on offense. I went through the depth chart. I told you this. I went through the depth chart. There's like 2 or 3 guys that are carryover as starters from the end of last year to this year. I could see the offense having some just clunky moments. I think the defense is going to be ready to roll.
Yep.
So I'm going, what did you say?
41-13.
41-13. I like your 13 number. I think it's going to be more like 31-13. So a little tighter, a little closer. Does Rocket get loose Saturday? I think they're gonna. I know he's not on a pitch count. That was something they said, but I think you ease him in, get him going, maybe get him 14, 15 carries. I don't know if you go much over that.
14, 15 carries, and there's no mark that you're trying to. We need to get Rocket to. Let's get him 100. They don't. I don't think they care about anything like that. But yeah, I think he does get loose a bit. 100-yard game. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Rocket gets to 100. I think they get all the backs, most of the backs involved a little bit. Sellers, I don't think you intentionally run him much. I think you ease him in. I think he's going to run some just naturally, like taking off, stuff like that. And, I think there will be times, especially it sounds like one thing caught my attention. Clayton White and Dal Loggins mentioned kind of unique schemes you're going up against. We know that now the offense for ODU is like a carbon copy of what Tennessee tries to do. So I think here's the thing. We talked about how many guys are back on this defense for Carolina. They've seen this scheme three years in a row.
Yeah.
They should be ready for that. You obviously aren't thinking you're going to have you're not going to have the same level of skill for ODU that like a Tennessee has. So I think they'll be prepared as far as that goes. I do think there will probably be times where maybe ODU, because they do have a little unique scheme, maybe Sellers drops back. Maybe he sees something that's not quite what he expects in a game one, and he just says, all right, I'm going to take off running just because I don't quite love what I see. So could you see Sellers, rush for 50, 60, 70 yards, like have a big run and have a big day rushing, even if it's not designed that way? Like I can't see them going in and be like, let's get him hit 10, 15 times by design.
Right.
But could there be several opportunities for him to take off running? I tend to think so.
Yes, I think so. I do think, at some point, if you've got a running quarterback, you run your quarterback because it's such an advantage. And you hear coaches who have mobile quarterbacks talk about this a lot. It's always, you always have that in the back of your mind, but it's almost like, you got to run the football with your running backs. The issue is you want to have more than one running back. We talk about that all the time with quarterbacks. If you get your starter hurt, then starter's hurt, and typically there's a drop off. So, that makes it difficult, but I do think that is going to be part of the game. Zone read stuff, design runs. That'll be in the playbook for the North Sellers. Does it have to be in game one? Probably not to the extent that we'll see it even in week 2. But I do think he's a guy that is going to look to run at times as part of his game. So we'll probably see some of that as well.
Yeah. I don't know if I have enough to say about the other games. I am very intrigued. We're out there tailgating or after the Carolina game. What do you think about 4:15 start? I kind of like it.
I'm good with it because you can see, there's a couple nooners that are good.
Yes.
Get to watch those, probably almost all of them, if not all, depending on when you leave your tailgate. And then you get the night games.
When is Miami in Florida? Do you know off the top of your head? Dude, I'm intrigued by that game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think Georgia handles Clemson fairly, I don't want to say easily, but I think Georgia handles Clemson. Like, even if it's closer than maybe expected, I think it'll be a game Georgia can control.
Yeah.
Miami, I was reading up on Miami a little bit over the week, throughout the week. Dude, there's some high expectations all of a sudden for that group. So
yes.
I'm intrigued to see what happens because of the attention on Napier and the amount of pressure on him. Ben, we're going to trust you, man. Ben says 3:30 ABC. He also says Miami is going to roll. The game's in the Swamp.
It is in the Swamp.
Miami favored by 1.5.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to think Miami wins too, which is going to, Florida, Billy Napier's that already hot seat is going to heat up even more. What other big games are? Oh, I think we should mention this. Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast version, say on Friday, we're recording on a Thursday, we're live on Thursday. These games will have already happened, but 2 former Gamecock assistants play tonight.
Yeah.
Jody Wright, Murray State, play at Missouri. And then you got Pete Limbo in Buffalo. They got Lafayette. So they are Pete Limbo not making his head coaching debut. He's been a head coach multiple times, but in his new role as Buffalo's head coach. And then Jody Wright, first-time head coach. So
I legitimately want a Murray State and a Buffalo shirt.
Okay. They'd probably get you one.
We
could wear it.
Probably not the day to call in that favor, but maybe later on. Hey, this has been fun. Hopefully we can do this again. Where Brent is. We might get Brent on one more time. Chris, we've talked about this season for so.
Does it seem like we've talked? The off seasons are generally the same length.
Yeah,
close, but I feel like this one we've talked about more somehow.
Let me ask you, what are you most interested in seeing Saturday at Williams-Brice?
It's hard to narrow it down. It really is, because there are more questions this season, more newness, than normal, especially like transfer portal era.
The portal era is so, dude. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was not that long ago. I promise I'm gonna let you answer, but it was not that long ago that if somebody said, "All right, I haven't really been following the team. Who are the newcomers I need to know?" And if it was like maybe 10 guys or something, that was like, well, that's a lot of turnover for 1 year, So I think for now, 56 new players.
Yeah, for Old Dominion, yeah. Well, and there's big South Carolina's class, 30-something new players.
Yeah, and a lot of them are going to play.
A lot of them.
By the way, did you catch? Connor said, "I think Matt Fuller's going to play."
I did hear that. We've heard some things, and Shane Beamer has made a point to talk about him too. There's so many guys in that room too.
That is a big kid, dude. He is.
Yeah. It's a big boy.
We're going to be talking. We may not be talking about him Saturday. We may not be talking about him in 6 weeks. I feel like before his time is over, we're going to be talking about Matthew Fuller quite a bit. But I stalled for you there. What are you most looking forward to seeing?
Man, there's so many things. If I had to boil it down, I am going to say Lenore Sellers, because it's it is the most important position on the field. He's so talented. Now, is what we see Saturday night going to be the finished product, even from week 1 to week 10? It's not even going to be close. But this, in some ways, this is not fair to him. But being how important quarterback is and how talented he is, he can elevate this offense. If he takes the next step, if he plays extremely well, that's the difference that can make a big difference this season, basically, from just kind of a average season to something really, really good. Now, everything else has to work in concert with that. All these other questions, I could have sitting here and said, I could have said, well, wide receiver, or well, the running game, or well, the offensive line, because I legitimately can make an argument for all those. But to me, Sellers can be a difference maker, and frankly is going to need to be one throughout the season.
Yeah, I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah.
That's probably my top answer to get to say something different. Let's go back. So I want shout out to my guy Curly at the Augusta Gamecock Club.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal dude. Gotten to know Curly over the years, man. Love just talking ball to him. Every time I go speak there, I see him. Wes, how's that offensive line look, man?
Oh yeah.
Gamecock fans, rightfully so, they have it ingrained in their head. Is the offensive line going to be improved? And I think we can say definitively it is going to be improved.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter. What matters is how improved is the offensive line.
Yes.
And can they take a little bit of pressure off of this passing game? Can they make it, all these things are interconnected, which is one of the things I love about football. And, I think you go to the defensive side, how many of the issues they had in pass coverage last year were because of lack of consistent pressure on the opposing quarterback.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
If you have questions at receiver, some of that is you got to catch the ball more consistently potentially. But some of that is a little bit longer to get open.
Yeah.
Can affect your ability in the passing game as well. Can establishing the running game affect your ability to throw the ball more consistently? Absolutely. Can you put yourself in a position where you're throwing into looks that you want? You get in the third and long, they can pin their ears back on you. They can stunt you up front. They can run these games. And I think for Carolina, can this offensive line, as we've talked about just all offseason, ever since last year, going into last year too, are they able to sort of put it together, start to gel, and show us a little inkling, a little semblance of that on Saturday, and give these fans something positive to grip onto and be like,
Yep.
Man, we can go into Kentucky and battle with what's my man's name? Big defensive tackle.
Deion Walker.
He's back, right?
Hey, unfortunately,
they have clones of this guy. Like I
think they do. Yeah. Every year, they always have like a 6'6", 350.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting way ahead of ourselves.
A human eclipse.
Yes.
Is the
step. The first. Don't you think there will be some signs? Saturday?
One way or another.
Yeah, there will be some signs of.
Yeah.
Or there'll be some signs of okay, and that doesn't mean it's not going to be perfect. We know that, regardless.
Yeah.
But enforce your will if you're South Carolina.
Well, yeah, because what you don't want, like past, 2021 Eastern Illinois, you can't really tell. Past 2 years season openers, though, you got a sense. I think the guy that sent the group text in the 2022 game after the first series that said the O-line didn't look very good, that was probably a little much. But then you leave that game, you leave the North Carolina game, and you go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Two different reasons. I think like 2022, you ran for like 75 yards.
Yeah.
As a team. Not good. If you can't do it against Old Dominion, your prospects for turning around and doing it the next week against Kentucky, not great.
Yeah.
Last year, UNC, you gave up 9 sacks. You look and go, okay, we gave up 9 sacks to UNC. Now we're supposed to go block James Pierce from Tennessee, Georgia's front, Clemson. You don't feel great about it. And indeed, that's how it played out. So, like you said, you want to walk away with a semblance of like, all right, this wasn't perfect. It looked better. What does it mean going forward? We'll see, but you're off to a good start.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked it to death, man. You got anything else to add? I
think but I don't know if we covered it all today, but between today and the past however many months
we haven't covered it at this point, then
we've definitely given it our best shot.
Thank you all for following along all off season.
Yeah.
And thank you, of course, for joining us today, whether you're listening later on or watching us live. It's been an awesome show. Hopefully y'all have enjoyed it as much as we have bringing it to you. And, man, we are going to soon kick this thing off, and we'll have so much new data to chew on and talk about.
I'm excited about
and all those things. It's going to be awesome. And I, for one, cannot wait for that. And so if you want to come join us on Gamecock Central, we do still have a Kickoff 24 promo code. And we're going to get out of here, though. Once again, if you didn't get to come by today, you still have time. Come on by before the game. You can see the swag right behind us, hopefully. I don't know if the helmet's for sale, but the rest of the stuff behind us is for sale at BP Skinner, 1003 Gervais. If you're familiar at all with downtown and the Vista, you know exactly where it is. But come by. They're open till 8 o'clock on Friday before the game. They're open until 2 o'clock on Saturday if you want to come in, get you some Gamecock gear.
Yep.
If you're going to the Hootie concert, I mean, CLA is right over there. Easy stop by here before you go over there. I mean, you heard it from Connor. You heard it from Pat. You heard it from Pharoh. You heard it from Dylan. Heard it from us. I got my suits for the wedding from here. Chris was in it. He got a suit from here too.
That's awesome.
So they will take outstanding care of you here at BP Skinner. Hit them up. Come on by. And we're going to sign off, man. Chris, appreciate it as always, man. Appreciate y'all as always. Appreciate all of our guests as always. Appreciate Brent here at BP Skinner. Come on down and see him before the game. And then Chris and I will be seeing you after the game at some point, probably Monday, to talk about what we all saw on Saturday. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you soon.